The following program is intended for mature audiences.
A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
Welcome into the Ingles Studios. This is the Sportsocracy, and this is the 2022 Post-Senior Bowl mock draft for the San Francisco 49ers. After this video, if you like the picks, if you don't like the picks, if there is a player you would like to know how I think they fit with the 49ers, feel free to leave that in the comments. I answer those on a daily basis. San Francisco, no first-round pick this year off the heels of the trade last year for Trey Lance. No Jimmy Garoppolo moving forward. They will recoup, obviously, something for him. I think it's going to be more in the neighborhood of what Carson Wentz got in Philadelphia, 2 twos, something to that effect, with an escalator that would turn it into a first-round pick. I do believe they're going to add some kind of draft capital this year, but as it currently sits, no first-round pick, but they do have a pick in the second round, and with that selection, I have them selecting Tariq Woolley, the cornerback out of UT San Antonio. This kid is incredibly raw. 6'4", 205, unbelievably fast. Probably going to run somewhere in the neighborhood of a 4.3. He just fits this San Francisco scheme and style in an elite fashion. He is overly aggressive, and that is something that could get him picked on early on. He's more of an athlete than he really is a corner right now. But the high side on this kid is the sky's the limit. There's just not many individuals in this world that are this big, this physical, and this fast. I love this kid. Some people think he could end up playing safety in the NFL. I don't really believe that. He's not good enough of a tackler, and it takes away what he does best. He plays the ball really, really well. Now, level of competition will always be a problem, and technique is severely lacking. But I think he gets into San Francisco. They teach him the ways of the NFL, and this could be a home run selection for San Francisco. Perfect fit in the scheme, and I think would be a day one contributor. With their second selection, number 93 in the third round, pass rusher Myjai Sanders out of Cincinnati. I'm not as wild about this kid as a lot of other people are, which is why I have him in the back end of the third round as opposed to I've seen him as high as the middle of the second, and I just don't really believe that. He's a good pass rusher, and he'll hold up against the run decently enough. He just doesn't have the height, weight, speed measurables. I mean, 6'5", 240, he's a little thin. I don't think he's going to run insanely fast, probably in the mid-4.6s, but there is a lot of natural talent. Very good pass rusher at Cincinnati. The production wasn't there, though. Only had 2.5 sacks this year, and level of competition, all of the things. He's going to have to get bigger and stronger in the NFL, but you put him in a defense with San Francisco where he's got Bosa, Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, who has not been nearly as good as I thought he would be. That gives him a potential to come in, be a situational pass rusher to start, and then build into a role markedly bigger down the line. San Francisco has a lot of defensive line talent, whether it's Arden Key, Mo Hurst, Jordan Willis, that are free agents. With their cap situation being the way it is, the Garoppolo trade could facilitate some more space that might allow them to bring some of these guys back. As it's currently sitting, that is one of the biggest needs this team has, is depth. They're very good. If you look at the 22 starters on this team, there are not many teams in the NFL that are better than them. The depth is going to take a hit this offseason, and Sanders would be a great player to bring in as a little bit of a project, but a guy that can contribute right away. With their next selection, number 132 in the fourth round, Justin Ross out of Clemson. If it wasn't for injury, there is no doubt in my mind Justin Ross would have been a back end of the first-round pick. However, horrible neck injury cost him a year. A lot of people said he would never play again. 6'4", 205, not crazy fast. The thing that I think he will leave you lacking is that he is not a height, weight, speed guy. Height, weight's good. Speed, not so much. Probably in the 4.6 range. Very, very good at the point of attack. Very good at the ball. The thing that makes me nervous, can he separate in the NFL? He has an element of Deebo Samuel in him in that when the ball's in his hands, he is completely dangerous. It's getting the ball in his hands that can serve to be a little bit of a problem. That being said, I do think he complements Deebo and Aiyuk quite nicely. He can play on the outside. Phenomenal route runner. One of the best route runners in this class. And you mix that with the body frame. He falls here because of the injury. The injury is what makes everybody nervous, because it wouldn't be shocking if there were teams that took him off the board and didn't clear him with the medical. He was not as good after the injury. I would argue that that's because he was being thrown to by DJ Uiagalelei as opposed to Trevor Lawrence, and that is what made it look. When you have a receiver like this that's not naturally top-end fast, it's harder for them to separate. So he's big-bodied. The throw has to be really accurate, and the receiver has to be comfortable with the quarterback. I never saw that with Uiagalelei, but I do think Justin Ross, he's one of my – if I had to rank every receiver in this class, he would be in the top 10. That's a lot of projecting the upside and kind of throwing away the tape from last year, because I think quarterback problems are what made him not look as dominant as he had in the past. With their next selection, 5th round, number 171, Joey Blount, the safety out of Virginia. Virginia is one of the weirdest tapes to evaluate of any college team in high-level D1 football last year, because they were god-awful defensively. But they have several players that I have draftable grades on. Joey Blount, 6'2", 195. This is a true effort guy. Natural talent, he is not the most naturally talented player you've ever seen. Little stiff, needs to work on the fluidity in his hips, needs to work on the footwork, and he needs to get stronger. But there is probably not a player in this draft that works harder than he does. I think he's going to have to add 10, 15 pounds of good weight to the frame, but he can immediately come in, be a deep zone cover corner. Somebody that with the way San Francisco plays defense, he can come in and contribute immediately. Leaves a little bit to be desired against the run, but I fully believe that's the type of games that Virginia was getting into. Virginia scored points in droves, which is weird because their basketball team is allergic to offense. But Joey Blount was a product of that. Not a lot of teams ran against him because it was so easy to throw against them. Corners weren't great. I see it's a lot of projection in the tape with him, but in a system like San Francisco, he would be a great long-term project. Probably a special teams contributor off the jump, maybe some sub packages. Other than that, developmental 2 years down the line. If you agree with these selections, if you don't agree with these selections, or if there is someone that you would like to know how I think they fit with the San Francisco 49ers, be sure to leave that in the comments. I answer those on a daily basis. And be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can see all of our mock drafts. I do 3 of these over the course of the year. This one that is post-Senior Bowl, one after free agency in the Combine, and one the 2 days directly before the April 28th NFL Draft in Las Vegas. 3 more selections for the San Francisco 49ers. With the next one, in the 6th round, number 185, Otaro Agbanya. This is about as raw of a player as you will ever see. But the body type, the body frame, all of that is exactly what you're looking for in a true interior presence. A lot of people will say that he is a nose and a 3-4, and I think that's complete and utter bullshit. Because the thing that he does better, the thing that he does that will get him drafted is he is a good interior pass rusher. Not a great tackler, doesn't hold up against the run as well as you would like him to at his size, but he can get after the quarterback. This is somebody that I could see slotting next to Javon Kinlaw in certain packages, next to Armstead in certain packages, just depending on what you were after. He does provide good bursts from the inside, very, very strong. He has to improve the technique. There are times that you saw him get just stood up by drastically smaller linemen. That bothers me. That's the reason that he will be available here. But the raw is so good, and there is so much to like about this kid. In the 6th round, high upside flyer, and a player that 2 to 3 years down the line could be a contributor in San Francisco. 2 picks in the 7th round. The first one, these are 2 of the last 6 picks in the draft. First one, a guy that I know quite well because his brother plays for my New York Jets, Olakunle Futakasi, linebacker out of Rutgers. This kid's just he doesn't do anything overly well. He's a very good tackler. I think depends on where he runs. If he runs at the pro day and through the process and he shows legitimate 4.6 speed, probably won't be available here. If he runs in the mid 4.7s or higher, which is possible, he won't get drafted at all and he'll be a priority free agent. This is a kid that will play Mike linebacker in the NFL, off ball. The good is very good. Inconsistent tape, some questions about effort level, and his eyes are not very disciplined. That's the reason he's available at the back end of the 7th round, but he is absolutely a kid that could be molded in a specific defense and be a high-level contributor down the line. Special teams got to start with, practice squad got to start with. If you're patient, a couple years from now, it could pay off. Last pick in the 2022 7th round post-Senior Bowl mock draft for the San Francisco 49ers. This is a kid that has one speed. Number 254 overall, Ali Fayed, edge rusher from Western Michigan. He actually does fit better as a 3-4 outside linebacker. And I understand that is not what he would be asked to do with San Francisco. Now, that being said, 13 sacks at Western Michigan last year. The height, weight, speed measurables are what's going to push him down because he's not crazy fast. He's not crazy big. He's going to have to be put in a situation to succeed. But the moves are there. He's going to have to outsmart linemen in the NFL because he's going to run about a 4.8, 6'2", 250. So obviously a little small for an edge rusher. It's physical limitations with him. The effort is there. He's very good, oddly enough, against the run in spite of the fact that he does have size limitations, and he never, ever gives up on a play. High-level motor. I love this kid. Not a lot of secondary moves. So if he goes in bull rush and that doesn't work, there's not really a second gear. Speed move. That doesn't work, not really a second gear. Going to have to really mold himself into a football player, but the raw is there, and this is a kid that I think, with one of the last picks in the NFL draft, would be very high-level upside selection for the San Francisco 49ers. Every team in the NFL gets a 2022 7-round post-Senior Bowl mock draft, and this has been the one for the San Francisco 49ers. Follow me on Twitter @TheFlostradamus. I post different videos and things like that of draft-eligible players that intrigue me. I grade 500 players. That video will be coming out in March of my big board, every position. You can also on the channel see my top 13 at every position in the 2022 NFL Draft. We appreciate you checking us out. Be sure to click that subscribe button, click the notification button so you'll know every time we go live, including 3 o'clock every weekday with our live ESPN Radio Asheville show. We will see you next time. As always, we're brought to you by Ingles Supermarkets. Low prices. Love the savings.